In this particular match with Killer Kowalski and Buddy Rogers, he just fills the whole screen time with as much ankle manipulation as he can in different positions, in different contexts, from different starting positions. It seems to be like one of his signatures. But what's really interesting about this particular aspect is if we're looking at this as moderns, and we might say, "Oh wow, Buddy Rogers is in position to do like a heel hook entry from there if he really wanted to." And a little bit of history lesson in terms of the quote unquote ashi-garami from Judo is probably useful here. So Judo had what we would call a heel hook for a very long time before they banned it because of some rather gruesome injuries that happened in competitive situations, including people's like actual hip bones breaking, if you can believe that. So not only did they have ashi-garami leg entanglements, and even though they kind of made it slightly different, but they also had counters. And this exact thing that Killer Kowalski is doing, interestingly enough, shows up in Kyozo Mifune, the old god of judo, high-level judoka from back in the old days. He had a book, and he shows this exact move as a counter to someone else's ashi-garami attempt. One of the crucial differences being, in this case, rather than what moderns would call an outside ashi, he's countering an inside ashi. But otherwise, the mechanics are exactly the same. There's leg entanglement. In this case, the leg entanglement is something that Killer Kowalski initiated, but the same pressing down on the ankle that Kyozo Mifune does in one of his old textbooks as a counter to ashi-garami. That's the exact same thing that Killer Kowalski is doing here to Buddy Rogers. So that's interesting, and I still think that the bottom man is in danger or has an opportunity to turn that into a leg lock. But I've personally used counters like this to other people's ashi entries before when they were just not being as tight as they could about it. And only because I happen to have known about that from back in the judo days, and it still worked. I didn't get heel hooked, and I was able to introduce a tremendous amount of both knee pressure and ankle pressure on the guy who was trying to heel hook me. Um, does that mean that we would see this as a high percentage counter? No, I don't think so. But does it mean that there's a non-zero number of probability where you could get this? Yes, I do think so, and I think that because I've done it. So there's definitely a seed of validity in here. I don't think that the posture that Killer Kowalski has here would be in any way realistic. You'd have to tighten things up a lot more to make this work, but the kernel of it is rooted in some realism, even if it's not the highest percentage realism.